Hello, welcome back to Talk Tuesdays, which I am now calling Tuesday videos for me just to babble about things that have happened in my life. This week we're gonna be going over a story about a lovely dog named ZuZu, and I will put some pictures up on the screen. And I think we should just jump into it. I'm gonna tell you all a story this week. This is a story I remember fairly vividly, even though it was 2004. This story is about the time that my mother let me skip school so that I could get a dog. We could get a dog. Yes, that's right. You heard me right. My mother let me skip school so that we could get a dog. It was December. Our boxer had passed away recently, and the whole family was feeling pretty lousy for a while about it. My mom, my dad, my other dog Sophie, who was a dachshund, couldn't tell about the cat, but I'm pretty sure she was upset as well. I personally took it really hard as well because I didn't know life without that boxer. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong ways to cope with that loss. However, I digress. My mother came into my room as per the normal to wake me up for school. I gave the normal annoyed, disgruntled hatred for waking up. When my mother asked, "Would you like to stay home from school today?" Wait, is that a question? Fuck yeah, I want to stay home from school today. I thought you'd never ask. I tell her that I would absolutely like to stay home, as I could, then fall back to sleep. She then said, "But you have to stay up." Disgruntled, I question why. She says, "Do you want to go with me to get a puppy? I found an advertisement in the paper for a Springer Spaniel." Again, is this an actual question? I get to skip school to get a puppy? Dare I dream? Is this reality? I get up and get dressed while my mother calls me in for school and calls the breeder to make sure that we could come. About an hour later, we were at the breeders. We met the owners and both parents of the dogs. They were very sweet dogs, which was extremely promising. Then it was time to meet the puppies. I don't remember there being very many, but I do remember there was this one that stood out, and it was more cuddly and chill than the others, which is the puppy we went home with. She was white and liver Springer Spaniel, and she was 8 weeks old. It was close to Christmas, so we had a fire going and the wood-burning stove, and the Christmas tree was up. I remember that night. I took a nap with the puppy, who we affectionately named ZuZu, in front of the fire. She was incredibly sweet. Now, I don't want to get into the debate of crate training. However, we chose to crate train. We put her in the crate that night in the front bathroom. My father had been out of town, and we had gotten the puppy for Dad for Christmas. He came home that night pretty late. Dazed and exhausted from traveling for work, he came home wondering why Pepper, the neighbor dog, was in our house, not making the connection that this was a puppy, not a full-grown dog. Mom then had to explain that we now have a puppy, and it was for him for Christmas. He wasn't very receptive, considering it was a bit of a shock, and all he wanted to do was sleep, and now there was this tiny dog screaming in the front bathroom. After a few days, Dad became to love that puppy as much as we did. As she got older, we played a game called "Give Me That Sock!" The whole point, as she played keep away, super excited, wagging her whole butt since she didn't have much of a tail to wag. We would say, "Give me that sock," and she would move around just out of arm's reach with the sock. If we actually wanted her to give us the sock, we would say, "Give," and she would then drop it in our hands. She was a very good dog. Nightly, my dad took her on walks around the property. She lived for those walks. I think my dad did too. In early 2015, she was diagnosed with a form of bone cancer in her hip that was not treatable. It was extremely unfortunate, but she was still happy and enjoying life. She just had a mild limp in her left hind leg. We did what we had to do to make her comfortable, painkillers daily, etc. We were told 3 months. We began making those 3 months her best 3 months possible. 6 months later, it was my wedding, and she was still around. She was living her best life. We all were glad she was doing so well despite the diagnosis. Her limp wasn't much worse, and her spirit was just as happy as ever. None of us ever thought she would make it to my wedding. I was super excited because dogs are family. Therefore, ZuZu was more than invited to my wedding. I also have this lovely photo taken by John Ashley that I cherish oh so greatly. Then came December. Having now made it to her 11th birthday that no one thought she would see, she slipped on the ice and broke her hip. Now her limp was changed to she was only able to walk on 3 legs and had a large amount of swelling. My mother called me to let me know she would be putting her down the next day. And with a heavy heart, that's when I began the 5-hour drive to my parents' house to say hello and goodbye for the last time. Of course we were sad. How could we not be? It had been 11 great years. However, we were grateful that we got so much borrowed time with her. We all went on one last walk as a family. It was a slow walk, but luckily it was a warmer December day. My mother, my father, myself, ZuZu, and Millie, my mother's whippet, went on our last walk together. ZuZu still had pretty good spirits, but it was very clear that she was struggling. Unfortunately, it was her time. I went to McDonald's and got her a cheeseburger. Why? Because why the fuck not? She wasn't supposed to have people food for 11 years. Now she could have a moment where she can have people food. When I gave it to her, she looked at us like, I'm not supposed to have this! She slowly ate it while looking at us like we were going to tell her no. Once she realized we weren't going to say no, she scarfed it. We wanted to make her last day as happy and comfortable as possible. I think a cheeseburger definitely helps make a dog happy. See, look how happy this pupper's face is. I still miss ZuZu a lot, but the most important part of this story is she lived a long, happy life, with 11 acres to roam on and hunt mice and birds and live as free of a life as she could. She got to go on long walks every day, be with the people who loved her dearly. This painting is a tribute to how wonderful she is. If you've made it this far into the video, I commend you. Thank you for hanging out and listening to the story of my wonderful dog's life. There's so much more I could add, but I really don't want to ramble on for several hours. I'm pretty sure everyone would click off then. Here you see the finished piece. I hope you all like it. I plan to have it printed for myself and for my parents at some point because it is very special to me, and I'm sure it will be for them. Also, a special shout out to my patrons. You guys help making these videos possible and make staying home and doing something I love feasible. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link in the description down below. Also, a special shout out to my subs over on Twitch. You guys make staying home and making art doable. If you still want to help out, but it's easier for you to drop a sub over on Twitch, it's quite alright as well. You still receive the same benefits as the Patreon tier that correlates to it. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, then you qualify for Twitch Prime and you get a free sub with that. Be sure to join my Discord community if you haven't already. There's a variety of gamers and artists accumulated into a fun, positive place. I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it and want more like it. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Have a dope-ass day.